Good morning and good afternoon. It depends on the place where you are listening to this lecture. This morning, I'm presenting regarding the ethnic, the so-called ethnic of Banyamulenge from the eastern part of Congo. And the title or the subject we're going to talk about it in this lecture is the problematic of the fashioning ethnic identity within the territory belonging to the indigenous people. The case of Banyamulenge, refugees from Rwanda who were established in the Uvira territory from the eastern part of Congo. I am a Mr. Bulelwa Mukenge. I am from DRC, from South Kivu. This paper, intended to clarify the public about the confusion created by misleading information spread by Tutsi refugees who named themselves Banyamulenge from South Kivu, from Uvira territory. The first part of this paper will briefly present the list of indigenous people, native ethnic, that occupy the part of the DRC before colonial era. The second part of the paper provided the beginning of the immigration of the Banyarwanda Tutsi in Uvira territory, as well as the transplantation of the Banyarwanda in Masisi territory in North Kivu province. The following part will provide regulation or the regulation rules of the law that regulates citizenship in Congo. It will provide also the school of thought on ethnicity and identity. And finally, we're going to speak about the consequences of fashioning the ethnic and the identity within a country. First, let's talk about the Democratic of Congo, the ethnics. The Democratic Republic of Congo is occupied by 450 tribes, ethnic groups, made mostly by the Bantus. However, this paper focuses on the tribes that occupied the eastern of Congo, particularly in South Kivu and the North Kivu, in part of the North Kivu. On one end, the group of refugees from Rwanda, mostly Tutsi, who were settled by the United Nations in 1959 in South Kivu, after the king of minority Tutsi was overthrown by the majority Hutu during the social revolution of 1959. And on the other hand, we're going to talk about the Banyarwanda, Tutsi and the Hutu transplanted by the colonialists in the Masisi territory in North Kivu. Let's first talk about the indigenous people from the South Kivu. The South Kivu province is made up of 9 territories. Fizi is home to Babembe tribe. Mwenga and Shabunda are occupied by the Balega, the Lega. Kale is home to Bahavu. Kabare and the Walungu are occupied by the Bashi. Uvira is occupied by Bafulero and Bavira. Ijwi is occupied by Bahavu, and Bunyakiri is occupied by the Batembo. Among these territories, 3 territories are located at the border with Rwanda and Burundi. The Uvira territory is on the border with Burundi. Kabare, Ijwi, and the Calais, they are on the border with Rwanda. In fact, these groupings are not the product of colonial regime. For each tribe was well restricted and they organized in small entities with their king or Bami, according to their traditional organizations. Referring to Mamdani 1996 and the Joreski 1979, cited by Kasper Hoffman, they says both the Congo Free State from 1885 to 1908, and later also the Belgian Congo from 1908 to 1960 were divided into 2 distinct political judicial domains, a tribal indigenous domain and civilized European domain. On top of this, decrees of October 6, 1891, a decree of June 3, 1906, decree of March 2, 1910 of November, and the decree of November 23, 1931, decree of 5th December 1933, all recognized the traditional communities as a sovereign and all its indigenous chiefs as a political natives authority, with which the colonial administrative bears its own authority to rule the new colony. None of these chieftaincies is known to have been under the rule of a Tutsi descendant, as they are claiming. We are talking about Banyamulenge, the so-called Banyamulenge. Let's see what the meaning of Mulenge. Etymologically, Mulenge is the term historically referring to mountains concentrated on the high plateaus of South Kivu, known as the Plateau of Mitumba, in the eastern region of the Democratic of Congo. According to Frederick Ottman, the ethnographic map published in 1939 by the National Committee of Kivu only give clear information. In fact, it is inhabited by several tribes. Mulenge is inhabited with several tribes. On the one hand by Bafulero, from whom we distinguish those of the plain of the Ruzizi and those of the mountain, 2 groups very distant from each other. Else apart, the mountainous center of this massif, covered with green pastures during all year, the southeast slope is inhabited by the Babembe, related to the Lega of the West Great Antas. In symbiosis with the mountain Bafulero, live with the Bambuti, last remnant of the indigenous population of the Pygmies, who are very mixed and a little distinct from the masters. The cross-checking different versions collected by the first European ethnologists, colonial administrators, anthropologists, and cartographers working in Uvira disclosed that the territories stretching along the northwestern coastline of the Ruzizi Plain from Uvira all the way to Luvungi was under the jurisdiction of Bahamba dynasty of Bafulero. The capital of this dynasty was located in Lemera, a grouping positioned northwest of the plain, situated in close proximity to Kashese and Nyambasha. The name Lemera is derived from Mulemera, the father of Kahamba, who founded the Bafulero dynasty, and that's the capital. Lemera is one of the cities in Uvira territory occupied by the Bafulero. It is well known, and the Bafulero are well known that with their behavior as Embo people. The next point, let's talk about the immigration and the transplantation of the Banyarwanda in Congo. First, the immigration of the Tutsi at the Haut Plateau. Contrary to the many published papers as well as a rhetoric of different lectures, particularly the paper from Mr. Defin Ntanyoma, published by the Conservation on March 2023, who claims that the Banyamulenge were settled in South Kivu between 16th and 18th centuries is a deliberate distortion of information that aim to mislead the public perception and tarnish Congolese image. Referring to Way George, quoted by John Kapapi, said, the first Banyarwanda arrived in Gali in 1881. It was a man and a woman. Then, referring to the interview by John at Gali in 1959, he says, 41 men and 11 women were born in that village. And 8 men and 27 women arrived in the area in 1930. 2 men and 2 women entered that village between 1939 and 1949. 12 men and 12 women entered in the village between 1940 and 1949. 10 men and 26 women entered between 1954 and 1959. All Tutsi immigrants were living in following villages: Kishembwe, Gali, Muranira, and Kalonge Kata. All these villages is under the chieftaincies of Fulero and Bavira. None of those villages were under the chieftaincies of a Tutsi, because the Tutsi are not indigenous to that area. The following point is we're talking now about the transplantation of the Hutu and the Tutsi Banyarwanda in Masisi. Before the colonizers arrived in Congo, Masisi was traditionally inhabited by the Hundi people, the Bantu articularists who inhabit the Masisi territory. During the colonial period in 40s and 50s, the Belgian administration had a dual colonization policy for bringing in many immigrant white people and the Banyarwanda Hutu and the Tutsi to settle in the area on the promise of land. The Belgian favored the arrival of the Banyarwanda transplanted workers and the immigrants who sought refuge in the eastern region of Belgium Congo, as the local population had fled due to the forced labor imposed by the white farmers. The Banyarwanda were predominantly settled in strategic locations, namely Masisi, in present-day North Kivu province. So, you may understand that before the arrival of the colonizer, there were not Rwandese population in Congo. But most of them, they were transplanted according to the need of the labor. On top of that, the colonial parastatal Comité National du Kivu, gave out long-term leases to the settlers in Bashali chiefdom to focus on tea and the pyrethrum cash crops. In 1940, Chief Bideri from Rwanda succeeded Mr. Lesnar, who was subsequently replaced in 1941 by another Rwandan chief named Puchana Inyandi. The establishment of these two chiefdoms and the appointment of a Rwandese immigrant as a traditional chief instigated ethnic tension between the Rwandese immigrant and the Hunde, who considered the land rightful there. In 1957, the Hunde claimed their entities of Gishari and successfully reintegrated it into the Hunde chiefdom of Kishali. Consequently, Kishali chiefdom lasted only 17 years before being dissolved and was returned to chieftaincy of Baunde. One of the consequences of Banyarwanda transplanted in Masisi territory caused the crash between native and the immigrant was during the Congo crisis in the early 60s. When the voting rights were first granted to the Rwandese immigrants, their immediate electoral success prompted a backlash for the Hunde population, who took control of local politics under the slogan Udongo ya Baba. It means father is land. Increasing violence between the Hunde administration and the immigrant population spiraled into the Kanyarwanda War. Moreover, since 1970s, the territory has been divided into 4 modern collectives: Baunde chiefdom of Bashali, and the chiefdom are run by the traditional ethnic Hunde chiefs, and the Katoni, and they also are organized as sectors. Having said that, let's talk about the first contingent of Tutsi refugees who arrived in Congo after following the social revolution of 1959. The ethnic tension between the Hutu majority and the Hutu minority had their root in the Belgian colonial era, where the ruling Belgian authorities empowered the Tutsi aristocracy and they cemented the second-class state of Hutu in what had previously been a fairly fluid social system. Upon the leaving of white people from Rwanda, Belgian diplomats steered the pot by revising their favoritism, encouraging nationalist Hutu uprising in the name of democracy. The episodes of violent attacks and the reprisal between Hutu and the Tutsi flared the violence in Rwanda. Then, the 1959 social revolution took place and led to the transition from a Tutsi monarchy under Belgian colonial authority to an independent Hutu-dominated republic. This social revolution pushed most Tutsi to exile and they settled in neighboring countries. Some went to Tanzania, others went to Uganda, and the others came to Congo. Some also went overseas. Since then, the exodus of Tutsi refugees from Rwanda continued until 1962. According to Le Marchand, 2009, in this initial wave, approximately 200,000 Tutsi refugees went into exile in neighboring countries and beyond. Approximately 50,000 to Burundi, 70,000 to Uganda, and 25,000 to Zaire, Congo. Those who crossed into Congo, their camp was first settled in the Ruzizi Plain. Unfortunately, military men were among them, and they were organizing incursions in order to retake power back in their country. So, to avoid the spread of insecurity, the UNHCR requested the government of the Democratic Republic of Congo, a site far away from the Rwanda border. On top of this, local population from the plain were not happy for their crops were destroyed by the cattle belonging to refugees. In response to this, to the UNHCR request, the government offered the site of the Haut Plateau, which is one of the Mitumba chain of mountains from a Fuliru tribe located in the territory of Uvira. For it was far from the Rwanda border. Also, they could keep their cattle away from local farms. According to John Kapapi, 2018, sitting UNHCR report state 60,000 refugees were settled within 3 camps, Lemera and the Katobo from Uvira territory and the Kalonge from Calais territory. The report further says two humanitarian organizations were providing assistance, namely Oxford Committee for Famine and the Red Cross. You may understand that the number of the refugees who crossed to Congo and the way they were settled in Congo, in South Kivu, and the territories and the places, location, it's clear. And nowhere they are talking about the Banyamulenge. The following point that we are talking about, we're going to talk about now is the fashioning of the ethnic identity of Banyamulenge. As I said before, in the Democratic Republic of Congo, then Zaire, the Banyarwanda were considered as a foreigner by native, as it is a common practice applied worldwide to foreigner, particularly refugees. To avoid this stereotype, Rwandan refugees settled on the high plateaus of Mitumba decided to create their identity so that they can be identified as a native at some level as locals. The fashion name Banyamulenge was chosen in the early 70s to avoid being called Banyarwanda. Then, in 1976, the propaganda for recognition started to spread widely. Unfortunately, their malice could not confuse among native, but it became as a wake-up call for native to resist, and it was the beginning of the trouble, not only for the Banyarwanda living in the plateaus of Mitumba, but in the entire province of Kivu. First of all, Zaire today, the Democratic Republic of Congo. All tribes are named under their ancestors' name. Not one of them is identified under the name of a mountain, a river, or any material object. We cannot create history, particularly an ethnic within an area previously occupied by native. Otherwise, we plant the seed of conflict. Beside the Mulenge that they claim to be their native land, the Tutsi claim also Bijombo and the Murambi as their traditional land. Both are also located in Uvira territory, the land of Bafulero. The two villages are part of the high plateaus. The first one is under the chieftaincy of Bavira, while the second is under the chieftaincy of Bafulero. According to Mamdani, 2001, the name of collectivity derives from the name of the ethnic group considered indigenous to it. So, if each land is occupied by the native and the name it is deriving from their ancestors, why all this land, the Tutsi, the so-called Banyamulenge, they don't have a land that represents his name under their ancestors? According to Magungu, 1997 states that A decree of 14 September 1886 divided land into two categories. Indigenous land was the inhabited, cultivated, and exploited by the indigenous, and the vacant land was assigned to the state for exploitation. Furthermore, the colonial recognized the customary right to indigenous chiefs to rule land belonging to their ethnic group. The question we shall ask the Banyarwanda refugee who claim to be Banyamulenge is, why colonizers didn't take into account their claimed ethnic when all tribes were listed and acknowledging the authority of indigenous chiefs established by royal decree of 6 October 1881. Was it a deliberate omission or to exclude them? No, this was not omission. Instead, colonizers were governing in the collaboration with the ethnic landscape. Therefore, taking in consideration the data collected from different sources from a colonial era and the 70s narrative, we can understand who are the Banyarwanda who claim to be Banyamulenge. The following point, we're going to talk about the identity and the citizenship challenges in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The root cause of the crisis of citizenship in the Democratic Republic of Congo is the result of the mischief of Barthélemy Bisengimana, a Tutsi transplanted in Masisi during the colonial era, who in 1972 managed to get the political bureau of the ruling Mouvement Populaire de la Révolution to pass a citizenship decree in which a very originating from Rwanda, Burundi, and residing in then Belgium, Congo, on or before January 1950 was automatically granted citizenship. This decree 72002, amended by the Emperor status and they become referred to as Article 15, when that law, which further allowed the new citizen to claim land right, went into effect in 1973, a number of Tutsi refugees legally received plantation and the rights that had been previously owned by Belgian settlers. After the promulgation, this decree law 72002, the native citizen multiply pressure against the ruling Mouvement Populaire de la Révolution, which they accused of betraying the people. Due to this pressure, Mobutu was forced to dismiss Bisengimana in 1977. After the removal of Bisengimana, who was advocating for the rights of Tutsi refugees, there were increasing pressure to reverse Article 15, resulting in a passing of the Decree 81002 of 29 June 1981. The Decree 81002 of June 29, 1981 specified in particular that any person is Zairian whose descendant is a member of a tribe established on the territory within its limits of August 1st, 1885. Consequently, most Congolese of Rwandese origin that loses their Congolese nationality. Moreover, the decree of 29 June 81 regarding the termination of Zairian citizenship for the Banyarwanda in the DRC is still in effect. However, a Congolese politician, all Congolese politicians agreed on the need to modify it. This is why the signatories to the Inclusive Peace Accord adopted in April 2003 in Sun City, South Africa, entrusted the National Assembly with conducting an in-depth study on Congolese citizenship and with drafting a new law on this issue. As yet, no one has voted on this law. Having said that, this law, it's clear, until today is still in effect. It means the so-called Banyamulenge, they are not Congolese, although they imposed by the gun to rule the country. But legally, they are not Congolese. Let's see what the theory, the school of thought on ethnic and the identity, what some theories talk about it. According to Tina, 2023, citing a school of thought for Primordial's approach, the theory of identity, ethnic identity, state, ethnicity is embedded in inherited biological attributes, a long history of practicing cultural differences, or both. Ethnic identity is seen as a unique in intensity and durability and as an existential factors defining individual self-identification and the communal distinctiveness. This approach provides the real characteristic of interaction between members inherited from the same ancestors. For instance, the Lega from Shabunda, Mwenga, Pangi, and in part of Walikale territories recognize each other belonging to the same ancestors, and they teach the youngest the genealogy from generation to generation. Same consideration is given to Babembe, who are considered as a Lega lastborn. Besides the Babembe, the social relation between Lega and the Babangubangu, descendant of Lega daughter. These two tribes recognized on one hand the Lega as uncles and the Bangubangu as nephews. The scholar Mark Awad Rossi, cited by Tina, says, drawing on a pisco-cultural interpretation theory, define ethnic identity as originating in shared, deeply rooted worldview that shape a group member relationship with others, their action and their motives. Referring to this school of thought, it is confirmed the difference between all indigenous tribes from the South Kivu and the Banyarwanda refugee settled at Mulenge, who fashioned the name of Mulenge to create the identity. The wide cultural gap between indigenous population prove to a large extent that the refugees settled are not among the indigenous population from Uvira territory, either from South Kivu. The third school of thought that we have analyzed in this lecture is the school of instrumentalists. According to instrumentalists, a school of thought, they define ethnicity as a result of personal choice and mostly independent from the situational context or the presence of cultural biological threat. Ethnic conflict arises if ethnic groups compete for the same goal, notably power, access to resources, or territory. The interest of a society is elite, class play, an important role in mobilizing ethnic groups to engage in ethnic conflict. Thus, the case of Banyamulenge tallies with instrumentalist thought. 4. The motive behind the creation of an identity within a territory occupied by indigenous population was only to have access to resources as well as to land and the political power. All those ambitions have been manifested since the first invasion of Democratic Republic of Congo in 1996 by the AFDEL, a proxy Rwandese and the Ugandese movement, and in 1998 under the umbrella of the invasion of the RCD, a proxy Rwandese movement that led the assassination of Laurent Désiré Kabila. During these invasions, the invaders Tutsi occupied all strategic positions in politics, administration, economy, and all security services and the army as well. On top of this, an instrumentalist consider the ethnicity as a device used by individuals and the group to unify, organize, and mobilize population to achieve the large goals. And this is what we are facing today in Congo, because those who called by themselves Banyamulenge, if you look at the number of those immigrants and the number of refugees, it cannot constitute millions, as they claim to be 4 million of Banyamulenge in Congo. And another element, those who are in North Kivu, sometimes the instigator of the trouble, they claim that the Banyamulenge from North Kivu. No, you can't be a Banyamulenge of North Kivu. They are only Mulenge in Uvira territory. No other place else in Congo. Those goals are mostly of political nature and include, among others, demand for self-governance, as we are seeing today, autonomy, access to resources and power, respect for the group, is the identity and the culture and the minority rights. Instrumentalist thought is clear it tallies really with the ambitions of these Tutsi refugees who claim to be Banyamulenge, because they want self-governance. They claim that Mulenge must be autonomous. They want to be autonomous entity. They want the autonomy of their entity. They want the power. They claim to be minority in Congo. They are minority compared to which other tribe? Which tribe who is majority compared to them? Who is majority? Who is minority? Remember, they say that there are always 4 millions. But if you look at the statistic, the population of the South Kivu is not 4 millions. So, and if there are 4 million, it means in South Kivu may have 80 million or 10 millions. What you can find anywhere, it's unbelievable. It's full of lies. In conclusion, the behavior of the Banyarwanda Tutsi refugees in the territory of Uvira can be retraced from their origin, which identify them as expansionists with the mind of conquer. They must conquer lands. For Tutsi are not indigenous from Rwanda, either from Burundi. They are indigenous from the northeast of Africa, who came down in search of green pasture to feed their cows. So once settled in these countries, they used the malign strategies to control and take power where they are settled. Those malign strategy of manipulation couldn't work in the Democratic Republic of Congo. First, in DRC, all land are occupied by indigenous, and secondly, people from the east part of the Democratic Republic of Congo are aware about how Tutsi took over indigenous kingdom in Rwanda and Burundi. Thank you.